So this morning is special. We have two practitioners that are going to be speaking with us today, providing their thoughts on how they each practice the presence of perfection, which was noted in the reading this morning. Our first speaker is Dr. Fran Peck. Fran has been an active member at Creative Living Fellowship since 2008. She's been a licensed practitioner here at CLF for 2 years and the animal chaplain for the past year. Fran, we are open to your wisdom. We bless you for sharing your light this morning. We welcome you here to the stage.
Good morning. How do we as practitioners practice seeing and living in the presence of God? How do we see God in everything, especially in these ever-changing and fearful times? As a relatively new practitioner, it has been evident to me in these recent weeks that the principles and practices that we teach in Science of Mind are made for just such a time as this. Where there is fear, the practitioner is called to faith. Where there is uncertainty, the practitioner is called to know that God is all there is. Ernest Holmes says in Living the Science of Mind, the way to get rid of fear is through the cultivation of faith, a faith founded on the thought that God is all there is. How comforting it is to know this truth. How comforting it is to have these spiritual practices that we teach as we go through these times together. In our practitioner training, each of our classes is designed to grow and strengthen our spiritual practices, such as spiritual mind treatment, meditation, as well as deepen us into the awareness of the power and presence of God operating in our lives, even when conditions and appearances seem contrary. I can't imagine going through this without these spiritual practices. When the news gets scary, I turn it off and meditate and treat. I treat for peace and peace of mind, that peace that passes all understanding. According to Holmes, this is the time to do our deepest work. As I prepared this talk during our stay-at-home order, I meditated on what does this all mean? What are we being called to do or be, especially as practitioners? I think we're being called to step up to a higher level of knowing. We're being called to be self-reflective and self-aware. It is a time to turn within. It is a time to realize our oneness with God and with each other. If anything ever demonstrated our oneness with each other, it is these times. It is this pandemic. It is a time to put others first. It is a time for us to know that we know that we know that there is only one power, one presence, one life. God is all there is. As practitioners, we are trained to know this truth, not only for ourselves, but for all of us. And we're trained to return to this truth over and over and over. The will of spirit is peace, clear thinking, and happiness. It could have no other will, according to Ernest Holmes. In these recent weeks, I've deepened into my spiritual practices. I've turned to other practitioners for help when I needed it. In these confusing and confounding times, we stand firm in knowing that there is no confusion in God. We stand firm in knowing that these principles and practices serve us and our world. And many times I've turned to one of my favorite passages in the Bible, Philippians 4:8. Whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, if there's any virtue, think about these things. To quote Ernest Holmes again, we know we are guided and guarded into right action. The principle of intelligence directs us. The presence of love warms us. And the peace of God covers us. And we are led into the pathway of peace. No matter what the outside appearance, we must cling steadfastly to the knowledge that God is good and God is all, underneath, above, and round about. Thus we shall be able to say with conviction, I know in whom I have believed. I'll leave you with this. Today I am honoring the presence of God. I feel God's beauty in the rose-tinted dawn and the glow of the evening sunset. In the flower, I find loveliness of God's beauty. In the mountains, I see God's strength. In the quiet of evening time, I feel God's presence. And throughout the night, I know that this presence blankets me. Therefore, I sleep in peace and wake in joy and live in the consciousness of good. That is how we live in the presence of God in these chaotic times. To introduce Reverend Dr. Joyce Buekers, who serves in the healthcare ministry, is the founding director for the Therapeutic Heart Foundation, and she recently received her doctorate from Creative Living University. Joyce is ordained at the Church of Beatitudes as an interfaith, ecumenical healthcare minister and is a Creative Living Fellowship religious science practitioner. Joyce.
A big shout out to the outstanding job Nicole and our staff are doing to make this online Plan H working from home happen today. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Fran, for that lovely intro. And I just want to welcome everyone to my home office this first Sunday in April 2020. We are facing a tough challenge right now, COVID-19. The good news is that we all have exactly what we need to deal with it. I would like to tell you a little bit about my story that started 30 years ago. Secondly, although we have not seen the worst yet in Arizona, and given the statistics we are expected to see this month and in through May, we have an excellent platform to help people as we always do. Reach out and know that there are tools that will help all of us here in the Arizona community with our vision and mission at CLF. Thirdly, there are many, many ways we can help people deal with this crisis. Social distancing, physically, but not spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. We can add those strengths and allow our consciousness to go out into our community and feel that universal spirit of love. Let me tell you briefly about my story and explain how I learned to live in that divine spirit of love, not fear. By the time the sun went down on January 10th, 1991, my entire life was changed. Bam! When that semi-truck rear-ended me, my jaw was broken, 7 vertebrae were damaged, the brain was severely rattled. My children lost the support of their mother. It wobbled my marriage, and I lost my job. I was broken. For too long, I was not functional. After seeing 17 specialists, 735 doctor's appointments, and 3 arthroscopic surgeries to the jaw, I realized the healthcare system for me was broken. I remember trying to call a nurse when hospitalized for 10 days following a diagnostic, and I had had a spinal tap that turned into a staph infection. So for 10 days, I was pressing a call light, thinking it was the nurse's light, but I was pumping an OxyContin pump, administering drugs directly into my veins. I know what it feels like to be a hostage to a virus. I am so empathetic with the patients, families, first responders, and healthcare professionals that have to experience daily this coronavirus, not knowing what to expect from day to day. Friends called my husband asking me if I was dying. I had a major brain injury, a level 10 concussion, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and more drugs, diagnostics, and surgeries that I ever have even been able to talk about. And then I met doctors like Dr. Gladys T. McGarry, whose practices centers around the principles of science of mind, both the science of mind and the art of spirituality. And together we found an integrated practice at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles that would help fix my brain injury, concussion, and jaw without having to have a complete jaw replacement. Then 7 years ago, I was introduced to Creative Living University and this wonderful community of CLF. I am so proud to be living in the presence and knowing that each day, what really is a priority in life. Each week, we gain insights and deepen our resiliency using science of mind practices, such as deep breathing, meditation, visioning, and affirmative prayer. Through my journey, I was learning neuroscience and the power of energy and the spiritual side of healthcare, neurons that fire together, wire together. So I listened to music, visualized, meditated, and I became mindful of where my pain was. The doctors would then go in and arthroscopically scrape the joint where the disc was displaced. My mind knew what to do with the healing process by allowing for the electromagnetic brain to take over. That's what all my doctorate was on. I had an awakening as to what was needed to heal. The joy, the peace I felt when I sat in the living room and started playing my grandmother's harp. The doctors asked me to journal everything that I was doing on a 24-hour basis. In retrospect, rather than this accident being the worst experience of my life, I learned that it became one of the best things that ever happened to me, my call to healthcare ministry. This frequency of the harp, combined with our amazing consciousness brain, is why I'm so passionate about this topic. As part of my treatment plan, the progressive doctors asked me to journal as to what brought me joy, hope, and transformation. It was then I discovered that if I took a moment to pause, that I would feel a calming sensation. I just played a glissando on the harp, and all of a sudden my thoughts became reality, and I found joy, peace, and calm while playing that harp, focusing on the non-pharmaceutical, non-surgical sides of healthcare. That is what we're being asked to today. This entire experience led me to a huge shift in my life. I recently graduated with Reverend Dr. Sherry and received my doctorate in integrating postmodern medicine with spirituality because the clinical evidence I have discovered about the positive effects of energy medicine and our science of mind principles. I truly see how the presence in everything as a student and teacher of science of mind. As a result of this personal crisis with the semi-truck, I started the Integrative Therapies program at Hospice of the Valley and founded 20 years ago the Therapeutic Heart Foundation. Many of us watched last night's coronavirus update for Arizona, and as the governor and Arizona leaders stated, we are more prepared than other states were at this time. Our governor said we need to stay home, stay healthy, and stay connected. That is what the PRAC team is here to help you with. Rather than a fear-based model that we see daily on TV, we can take a moment to pause. Prepare for the springtime by sensing God's divine presence, enjoying smelling the flowers, the beautiful weather, going outside and enjoying all of the nature of Arizona, are gaining spiritual insights through meditation, sharing stories, exploring faith practices, breath work, and mindfulness. What a great opportunity for us to do this inward work. We are learning about the ways that science and spirituality can enable us to experience this time of social distancing. Look at these next 60 days and take a pause of kindness. Let me share with you a story that went viral on Friday at one of our major hospitals. Just to put it in perspective, let you know, we were playing therapeutic harp music for over 195,000 patients, volunteers, and staff at 27 healthcare settings last year in 2019. We are now only in 2 of those settings with very strict guidelines for the harpists. Our wonderful program director, Jocelyn Obermeyer, received this Facebook post from a nurse that went viral throughout the hospital last Friday. This is what the nurse said as she filmed Jocelyn. Today I cried in the lobby of St. Joe's. All it took was this kind soul who packed up her harp and came to play for us. It was so beautiful in the middle of our stress and fear that I just welled up with tears listening to her play. I can't describe the emotions we're all feeling. Our halls feel empty. There are no visitors, no elective procedures, no students. But at the same time, we are all watching what's unfolding in New York and California, and we're holding our breath, waiting for that wave to wash over us too. The anticipation is so unnerving, the nurse said. Sure, we all still smile and chat while we stand 6 feet apart in the Starbucks line. We joke about how bad our aim is while we try to push elevator buttons with our elbows. We roll our eyes at the CDC and laugh at the thought of wearing bandanas when the masks run out. Seriously, guys, that's what they said. But inside, we are all on edge and scared. We all need to brace for what is coming. But by doing simple acts of kindness, I believe our thoughts are creating reality. To believe that what is true for me and in my private heart is true for all of us. By speaking our intention of wholeness and love, it is in a universal sense, for the innermost in due time becomes the outermost. We are being asked to put our hearts into divine consciousness. This is a time to reflect, recognize, reconnect, relax, and reach out and do our best. What can you do? Let's follow the nurse's advice. In her words, friends, stay home and fight for us by keeping yourself and family safe. Please, I don't want to see a single one of you here. Second, please reach out to a nurse, an MD, a respiratory therapist, and tell them you are praying for them. And lastly, get on your knees and follow through. Pray hard. Love you all. And so let's do what we do best. I would love to offer you this closing prayer. So let's take a moment to pause. You may close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. I pause in these moments to speak out loud and with certainty that there is one power in the universe. We call that presence, that power, that spirit God. God is my source, my breath, my heart, my soul, my rock. I cannot and would not exist without its strength, its peace, its expansive view of what life truly is and what life can truly express. I am renewed in merely thinking of God's breath and life in me now and always. I am made whole in the breathing of it. I am expanded in the contemplation of it. I am strengthened and blessed in witnessing God's many ways. I celebrate such clarity and the great expectations of all good, taking another deep breath, and believe in God's wisdom. I am enriched in even the slightest awareness that all of this is true, and as for me, it is true for everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond. It requires no effort, no sacrifice, no payment, no waiting to tap into that breath of life. I open to it, I welcome it. Again and again, that part of me that is in full alignment and balance with such goodness, ease, peace, clarity, and happiness. Even during this dark time of COVID-19, I am in gratitude for the remembrances of my holy self, the simple acts of kindness of those around me. So I, Joyce, speak my word into the law, knowing that it only says yes. I accept, embody, and believe that any problem is being solved and that everything is being done for all individuals with the right timing. So we now take a moment to say out loud or from our hearts all those that need our prayers. A special remembrance for Nurse Kate from St. Joe's and all those families that have been affected here in Arizona for COVID-19. Remembering those times, we remember to breathe again. I breathe again and again. And as Reverend Sherry likes to say, and again. I laugh again. I plan in more dynamic ways. I immerse in every task as an opportunity to be spirit in action. And I'm so grateful and welcome the remembrance of my own very unique purpose. And I do not desert the truth in this hour of need. For all these first responders and healthcare workers, our political, education, and business leaders, the CLF community, for my family, for the state, this nation, and the planet, and celebrate the moments of kindness, knowing that we are all one. We see professionals and leaders working together for the greater good of the health and wholeness of the whole planet. There's nothing that divides or separates these visible aspects of our lives and our activities. Big breath. So I speak my word in this moment to celebrate the allness of spirit that I am. I accept and welcome it. I effortlessly recommit myself, knowing all is well in my soul. Always has been, always will be. With freshness of breath and joy in my heart, I continue my journey in gratitude and great expectation of good and greater good now and always. I am blessed, I am renewed, and I release. I let go and live in that reality alone. We say together, and so it is.